Live from the Business RadioX studio inside Renaissance Bank, the bank that specializes in understanding you. It's time for North Fulton Business Radio.
Hello again, everyone. Welcome to another edition of North Fulton Business Radio. I'm John Ray, and we are with a great guest today that I've been excited to bring him on. Adam Bieber is with us, folks. Adam is with LogicSpeak, and he also has his own firm, Synergetic Culture. We're going to find out about both. And hang on for Adam, but I just want to remind you that if you are tired of the mega bank soul-crushing experience, yes, and those two phrases often go together, Renaissance is a better choice. And let me tell you why. The clients that I've referred to Renaissance come back to me and tell me that Renaissance is big enough to handle pretty much any need they can throw at them, but they're small enough to deliver their services in a personal way. If you want to check that out, call one of their branches. Just go on their website, pick a branch and call them, and they answer the phone. That's the way they handle things at Renaissance Bank. Go to renaissancebank.com to learn more. Renaissance Bank, understanding you, member FDIC. And again, I want to welcome Adam Bieber. Adam, welcome.
Thank you, John. It's so good to be here.
I'm glad you're here.
Hey, you are a legend in this community, so it is an honor to be sitting here with you.
You are obviously in business development and sales.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, but thank you for that. No, I'm delighted to have you and to be able to highlight your great work. Let's give folks an introduction to you and how you're serving out there.
Yeah, awesome. My name's Adam Bieber, like John said, and I have the pleasure of being the Director of Business Development for a managed IT and cybersecurity company here in the North Fulton area called LogicSpeak. We've been in business for just about 20 years. Same founder, same owner, incredible team, bringing the best of the best when it comes to managed IT, cybersecurity, technology, strategy, and planning, and fractional CIO and CTO services. But in addition to that, I also have a consulting firm called the Synergetic Culture Company, which was founded in about 6 years ago, 2019. And it started as just a content platform with a podcast with a passion to talk about culture, leadership, sales. And it has evolved into a full-blown consulting firm as of last year, 2024.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. So you're patting your head and rubbing your stomach at the same time with all this activity.
It does seem like that, but I promise you it's a lot of fun. I have a lot of joy getting to do it. And one thing I do want to mention, the mission of the Synergetic Culture Company is pretty simple. It's to empower organizations to win. So whether that's improving their sales process, developing a plan, a process, and a pipeline to help execute closing deals, improving their company culture, all of those things help organizations win. And that's what we want to do.
I want to come back to that, Adam, but let's dive into LogicSpeak for just a second. I mean, you had your company, the Synergetic Culture Company.
Yes, sir.
Why LogicSpeak? What stood out? Because you could have joined a lot of different firms.
Yes.
And they're looking for great business development people.
Yes.
The people like you are in high demand.
Sure.
Why? What attracted you to LogicSpeak?
John, my background was in the technology space, specifically cybersecurity software. And I had an introduction to the IT and cyber world from being a vendor and leading sales teams, developing sales professionals across the globe. And I had this heart and passion to help organizations grow, to live that mission of the Synergetic Culture Company. And by honestly a really great connection through church, was able to meet the owner of LogicSpeak, Jason Etheridge, who I think you've had on the program a couple of times.
Oh, yeah. Jason's fantastic.
We love Jason. Yeah. So I got the opportunity to meet him, just was blown away by his character, his leadership, his vision for his company. And it got me excited and pumped. And so we did a short-term consulting engagement where I contracted for a little bit and helped build business development processes, help build sales pipelines. And it was such a good fit, the right time for me and the right time for them, that it was a no-brainer for us to jump in and for me to link arms and join the team. So it has been right at a year that I've been on board with LogicSpeak, and it has been truly one of the most amazing. And I've told Ashley May at LogicSpeak, a real good friend of mine, and I get the pleasure of working on her team. I've told her this has been one of the biggest joys of my career, is getting to be on this team.
That's awesome. Shout out to Ashley.
Yeah,
too. She's fabulous.
she's a rock star. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, lots of stars over there at Logic Speak for sure. Yeah, I want to get to the dynamics of Logic Speak when it comes to sales.
Sure.
Here in a second, but so I'm putting that flag in the ground so we don't forget that. But let's talk about your involvement, because you have, once you joined Logic Speak, you really hit the ground running in terms of your involvement in the community.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
And your involvement in business networking, and your diplomat with the Greater North Fulton Chamber of Commerce. So talk about just the importance of building relationships as in a business development role.
Yeah, that's a great question. So I've always been a relationship-minded, relationship-focused person. So naturally, business development is a great space for me. Sales is a great space for me. What I had the joy of was stepping into a role at Logic Speak where there was already an established involvement, especially in the Greater North Fulton Chamber of Commerce. And so I got to just jump on a train that was already on the tracks. And one of the initiatives that Jason and Ashley gave me was, hey, jump in here and pave your path. You don't have to do everything that Jason does, but do what makes sense for Adam to do. And I started attending events, some together with them, some on my own, some just figuring out where was the best place for me to show up. And I think the biggest thing is showing up and showing up consistently. I would rather show up to fewer places more consistently than try to hit every single happy hour networking event in the city. It's this idea of being a mile wide and an inch deep. I'd rather be 6 feet deep and have nice, strong riverbanks, if you can use that imagination with me.
Yeah.
With the Greater North Fulton Chamber, that was really the first place. In addition to that, in this community, there's a really strong network of Rotarians, and I have the pleasure of being a member of the Alpharetta Rotary Club. And so getting to rub shoulders with some of the same people that are in the chamber, but then also doing really great work in the community, following that mantra, service above self. You can't help but just love this community more and want to build deeper relationships. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. I think in the last year, you and I probably show up to events once a week where we see each other. And
yeah, that's true.
And getting to cultivate relationships over longer periods of time, I think, is really what makes the most impact. And from a business development perspective, to me, it's the only way. It's the only way to, if I make my focus, what can I get from you? I'm not going to get very far. But if I look for ways that I can serve and build you up, and I do that consistently and show up for you, only good things are going to happen. And so that's just the perspective that we all have as a team at Logic Speak. And it's fun because Ashley's also involved in the chamber. Jason's also involved in the chamber. And we all have our pockets of community engagement, which is really cool to have that support.
Yeah, absolutely. Adam Bieber's with us, folks. He's with Logic Speak and also the founder and CEO of the Synergetic Culture Company. Synergetic Culture. What's that all about?
It was a name that came to me in January of 2019 when I was dreaming about starting something. And I didn't really know what it was going to mean, but I started to absorb as much content on what makes a great culture. And one of the things I've been wrestling with truly over the last, I would say 4 years, is this dichotomy of, can you get good sales results but still have a crappy culture? And the answer is yes. You can be successful by the bottom line and by the numbers, but at what cost? And so the whole idea behind the synergetic culture is really taking care of people and still getting those rock star, amazing bottom line results. And so I think that's the way you leave a legacy. That's the way you leave a lasting impact. I also have a heart for younger professionals because I was in that I'm trying to cut my teeth. I'm a young professional space for quite some time. And before I had a title that said I was a leader or director or manager of something, I truly believe that I had the ability to lead. And so we started a podcast, or I started a podcast back in 2022. And the mission has evolved to help young professionals maximize their influence and impact. And so that's the resource for young professionals within our company is getting really solid interviews and really solid content that gives them the tools in their tool belt that they can use today, tomorrow, this week to help them leverage the leadership that they have. And then on the other side is being able to cultivate relationships where I can help small businesses see more results, see better sales numbers, speed up the sales process because time kills deals, and help make a difference for organizations like we've been doing with LogicSpeak the last several months.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. There are several ways I could go with that.
Sure.
Here's the problem with this interview. I see this right now. See, you give me about 3 things I want to ask, and then I've got to pick one, and I sit here and stumble over which way I'm going. That's a good problem, though.
Okay, good.
I want to start with the idea of how you started the company through a podcast.
Mm-hmm.
That's an interesting way to get going.
Yeah, I figured it would pique your interest if we talked about that a little. You are one of the biggest proponents of podcasting, it's chapter 13 in your book, The Generosity Mindset?
Look at you, yeah.
So really, podcasting is, and honestly, it wasn't because I had the foresight that you have.
Yeah.
It was because it was a way for me to express the passion in my heart and do it in a pretty cost-effective way. And so through the pandemic, I purchased recording equipment, great state-of-the-art recording equipment, so I'd have a quality product to put out. Mm-hmm. And then I just started writing. I went back to the 2019 journal entries and notes on my phone where I started to develop some of these thoughts and ideas and flesh them out into monologues and into podcast content so that I could really, it was a way for me to express myself. Yeah. And over time, it has been a tool to represent the validity of the company. It's been a tool to engage people that I would not have otherwise been able to engage. Mm-hmm. And then, as you state so clearly in your book, it's also a business development tool. It shows the validity of the organization and the consulting services we offer. And it also provides really strong value without someone having to swipe a credit card yet, because at some point you got to swipe a credit card, but yet.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, and it's just a great way to open the doors.
Yeah. Yeah.
To folks that you want to be in touch with.
Sure.
And develop a relationship with in a way that's elegant and without clamminess.
Yeah. No,
right?
100%. Yeah. And I'm not pumping out 3 episodes a week like Rogan or however many you do, because I don't know what number episode this is going to be, but man, I know you've got a lot of content out there, but I've done what I could over the course of concluding my corporate sales career, starting my business, working full-time with LogicSpeak and other clients. Mm-hmm. I've contributed to it as much as I can. The first 3 years, it was 44 episodes. It's almost about an episode, a little more than an episode a month. Mm-hmm. And this year we have really solid plan to roll out 10 really sharp interviews. We've already released one with Don Marone, who's also in the chamber. Fantastic AI automation agency.
Right. Highland AI.
Yep. And then there's going to be 9 more interviews, and then there's going to be some what I'm calling after action reports, which are episodes between the interviews where we just hit the highlights of what you learned and what we got out of those interviews. And I don't know, man, I feel compelled to say if someone's listening to this and they've been dreaming and hoping and trying, just start. Hit the audio recorder on your phone and just rip something. And it's going to be choppy. It's going to be uncomfortable at first, but over time, you're going to be thankful you started, and you have no idea where it could take you.
That's true about a lot of things, right? It's the old cliche. When should you have started?
Yeah.
It's sometime a long time ago, and then you can start today. Though, right?
The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is today. I totally agree.
I knew you would nail it. I couldn't. So synergetic culture, what does that term mean?
So I define it as the physical and psychological environment of a team or organization that demonstrates shared beliefs and values that not just build the organization, but also build the people. It's wordy. I think I'm the only one using those 2 words together. And thankfully, I had a business mentor that said, hey, you should trademark that because that's catchy and that could be something. So
good for you.
So we trademarked the name Synergetic Culture in 2021, I believe, right before we launched the podcast in 22. And it's really the all-encompassing culture of an organization that people want to be a part of, and that, again, doesn't just build someone professionally, but builds them personally.
Let's talk about how you work with companies that need help with their sales process.
Sure.
It strikes me that your work with LogicSpeak, you're working with a complex sale.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You're also working with a long lead time.
Yes, sir. Yep.
So that requires some special care when it comes to your sales process. When it comes to that long sales cycle type of work requires some special care when it comes to cultivating relationships, cultivating the opportunities that you see, because those things aren't going to just pop out of the ground.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that and how you counsel your clients around that.
Sure. Here's what I've come to realize, and it's happened over time. The fundamentals of the sales cycle can be replicated. So there's a process that it's not cut and paste, and it's definitely not the same process for every single business. But the fundamentals, the relationship building, the leading with empathy, like some of the soft skills of how you want to build the relationship in the sales cycle, but then the tactics of trying to shorten the sales cycle as much as possible. Those two things pretty much can land on top of any sales organization. And you're right. Managed IT and cybersecurity, while it seems very techy, is also extremely emotional, because you have to think, for a business owner, they're entrusting us with their data, with their customer data, with things that if we mishandle, it could actually end a business altogether. One thing I've noticed is professional services companies, in particular, were usually started because there was somebody who was really good at the professional service. And oftentimes they can build and scale a business through referrals and through relationships organically because that person is really good at that professional service. But at some point, that founder and owner has to come to terms with reality that even though they might have been the salesman of their organization, if they want to scale past the capacity of what's on their plate, then they have to be able to transfer that and develop a sales organization. And that is one of the things that I love doing the most, is helping a founder move from founder-led sales to a sales org, whether it starts with one person or a small team, but giving that team or that person the tools and the pipeline to follow so that they can execute closing deals, because founder-led relationships cannot be replicated. There are dynamics to a founder and an owner of a business that you cannot replicate that in anybody else, because no one else holds the same weight as a founder and owner. So how do we get same or greater impact in the sales cycle? We have to develop a plan, a process, and a pipeline for the team to execute.
And that's something that founders a lot of times give up on. So they're like, no one will care about my business like I do. Nobody can talk about my business like I do.
Sure.
And I'm being somewhat facetious.
Yeah.
And some of that is maybe because founders haven't gotten the right people.
Sure. Yeah.
but they don't know any better. But sometimes it's also just an excuse to stay with their fist clutching around the reins
control,
of the business.
Yeah.
So talk about that piece of it.
Yeah, there's a whole lot of trust. Again, it comes back to the relationship and the trust. There has to be a level of trust that gets built in the salesperson or the sales org that's going to take over for that founder, where they can go, hey, I can trust you with my brand, with being the face of the company, with leading business development. And that was one of the dynamics that Jason and I had to navigate at LogicSpeak, which is honestly a great case study of how it's successfully possible to do that. And yeah, it takes time, but it also came with me being willing to bring to the table a very strong process. We defined very clearly, what does the pipeline look like? We did what I'm calling the 90-day pipeline sprint. And that is one of the things I offer as a service. It's just a short-term engagement, 90 days, where we review what is the current process, what are you guys doing, review the plan, review the process, review the pipeline, and help execute the closing of the deals faster. And through that, oftentimes we can cultivate that trust and that relationship and that piece that gives that founder the peace of mind knowing, okay, if I'm going to get scale bigger, which I think every founder owner wants to deep down, then I've got to start to trust the people I put around me.
Yeah. And you've also got to get the people that are worthy of that trust.
Sure.
Too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how do you identify those folks?
Man, as soon as I figure it out, I'll tell you. No, the recruiting process is hard. It really is. I am way bigger fan of interviewing for the right culture fit than I am for the right skill set, because skills can be taught and acquired. Somebody that shows that they have a high degree of trust and a high degree of culture and really the character traits that embody the culture and they align with the mission of the organization, you're going to get a lot farther with that person than you will somebody who comes in with the MBA from the really prestigious school and and the credentials that should say they'll be successful. They could still suck as a person.
Right.
And I'm being facetious here now too, but the reality is oftentimes people hire for the wrong reasons.
Right. Right. And that's a little bit of a knee jerk that people hire for like skill competency.
Sure.
As opposed to, it's not that they don't hire for character because they do, but they maybe overemphasize the skills and the experience piece of it.
Yeah. A good example, LogicSpeak's mission is to use our abilities and technology to have a positive impact on the lives of our clients, employees, and community. If somebody comes in and they don't give two flips about the community, it's going to be really hard for them to live out that mission. The core values of we care for you, we lean in, we keep improving, we love our craft. If you can tell just by asking a few questions that this person really doesn't care about the people they work with, it's going to be really hard to live that core value.
Right.
So having very defined, and there's other people that actually help better do this, help you define your mission, help you define your core values. But if you have those elements, then I think it's easier to identify the right talent to fill those types of roles, especially when it comes to business development and being more front-facing toward the community as a whole, carrying the brand of the company.
Adam Bieber is with us, folks. He is with LogicSpeak and also the founder and CEO of the Synergetic Culture company. So your podcast addresses young professionals.
Yes, sir.
Around influence and impact.
Yep.
Let's talk about where young professionals are. And I'm risking what I hate, which I hate with a passion, actually, are folks that put a wide swath on young professionals and over-categorize a whole demographic, but because people are in a lot of different places. But what drives young professionals these days? And you talk about influence and impact in particular. That's what I'm really particularly interested in is where are young professionals looking to be of influence? Where are they looking to be of impact?
Yeah, I think it's pretty clear that gone are the days where you have someone that right out of college or right out of high school starts working at a company and works there for 30 years, retires with a pension, and that's all they ever do. As time has moved on, the millennial generation, the largest generation ever, we were hungry. We wanted to have meaning to the work that we did. This whole idea of check your emotions at the door and come in and do the job just doesn't happen anymore. There's an overlay of personal and professional and emotion. And I'm the type of person that wears my heart on my sleeve. So I can empathize with the people that have a hard time checking in at the door and just showing up and doing the job. If I'm having a tough day, you know it. And so I think as a whole, there is a deeper desire for meaningful impact. There's a deeper desire for connecting emotionally to the work that I do. And so that's the as a whole blanket statement that you hate. Specifically, though.
No, here's what I hate. Let me be clear on what I hate.
Yeah.
What I hate are, and thank you for giving me a chance to be clear on that.
Yeah, sure.
What I hate is how corporate America particularly quit being loyal to their people.
Yeah.
And it basically keeps churning. They keep making earnings every quarter by laying people off.
Sure.
And they have destroyed loyalty in a lot of ways.
Yep.
And what do they expect when a generation that's come up sees their parents laid off repeatedly by corporate America? What in the do they expect?
Yep.
So that's what makes me that's what gets me fired up. Right?
And a lot of times they do it under the guise of they're just being lazy or a lot of blanket statements over the workforce.
Yeah, exactly.
Where it really this is probably the most emotionally intelligent workforce that we've had in a long time.
Right.
We have language and skills and things that help us express better what we want, what we need, what we feel. And so this whole idea of maximizing influence and impact, I think there's a pretty large pocket of professionals that want to have a meaningful impact, that want to connect emotionally to what they do. And maybe they find themselves like I did early on, where it was just, I needed more tools so that I could do the things that gave me more impact. And so I'm a big fan of leveraging the experience and the wisdom of, out of the 45 episodes, I think 22 of them have been interviews of all different backgrounds, people that are still in sales roles that aren't leading a team, people that have started and sold companies, and different levels of the quote unquote corporate ladder to learn from and get experience from, because anybody in any stage of their career can and does have influence and impact. It's a matter of how you're leveraging it. Do you have the tool set to do that? And man, it's just a passion of mine. I love helping people succeed in that.
What strikes me, though, is that the beneficiaries of all this
are my clients, my ideal clients.
Exactly. And here's where I'm going with that. Yeah. They're your ideal clients for the Synergetic Culture company. They're Logic Speak.
Yep.
Where Jason's a great example.
Yes.
Where you've come out of corporate and you're tired of that scene.
Yeah.
Right. And you've got a bigger purpose in mind. And so for your business,
yeah,
what we're talking about here is how later stage business owners are the beneficiaries of this millennial generation that also has purpose, because both of them are lined up. And it strikes me that you're a great example that both are in a line in terms of wanting to create purpose in what they're doing, both you and then Jason and your other clients, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. And so that creates a lot of
synergy.
For sure. But a lot of sparks that come out of that.
Yep.
In a good way.
It really does. It really does. And it's meaningful for me. And I don't want to ignore the fact that the professionals that are joining the workforce now are Generation Z professionals. And there's a whole new set of connection and communication. And while they may seem different as an early 90s millennial myself, I can look at it and I see a drastic difference in the way I operate and the way they operate, but that doesn't make anything wrong with them. It just means that there's different ways that we can engage and encourage and help them maximize their influence and impact.
I don't even know what we were supposed to be talking about here, but I'm glad. I love the bunny trail we went down.
I do too. I do too.
This was great. I do want to get to, though, the clients that you work with. Let's put it this way. What are the symptoms in my business that I'm looking at that I see and make me think I need to pick up the phone and call Adam?
Sure. Let's start with a plateaued founder where the capacity is not there to add any more to your plate and you want to scale and grow. Maybe you're looking at selling your business at some point, or you just have a desire to continue growing and learning and evolving. So that's an ideal place for me, is a business, professional services, or even not, just a business that is struggling to scale and a founder wants to start a sales organization. I can help build that plan, process, and pipeline so that they can do it. The other are maybe an established sales team, 4, 5, 6 sales representatives, and they're finding themselves getting stuck in the process. A great example is a nonprofit. I'm not going to name the nonprofit. I didn't get the permission to do, but there was a nonprofit that I worked with that they do donor development very similar to how I do business development. And donor development, there's a process. There's a sales process in that. And so we evaluated the sales process, and what we found was there was a gap. There was a drop-off, a massive drop-off at one of the stages in their pipeline. And so we evaluated that stage, and what was needed was just some very specific coaching on what to say, how to follow up, how to set the next step, and some of the just more tactical things. But that was the gap. That was the missing piece. And so now they're able to streamline that section of the process so that they can get to more donors, more sponsors for their events. So it's never going to be the same pain point for everybody, but an organization that has a few salespeople that's looking to, they feel that tension of there's a gap somewhere, but we don't know where it is. We don't know how to identify it. Let me come and help. Let's do a 90-day pipeline sprint and let's figure it out. I promise you, we'll find it. We'll get to it. And when we do, I'm going to give you the playbook to execute so that you can fix it. And then on the backside of that's the value of having the ability to consult over a longer period of time with a retainer is having that driving coach in the seat next to you that can help you tweak the things you're doing. I don't want to just build the car, put it on the track, and then toss the keys to you and say, bye-bye. I really want to sit there in the passenger seat and watch you drive and help you continue to iterate and evolve and make sure that we're tweaking the process as you go so that you can close deals faster.
Yeah. Wow. That's fantastic. You already mentioned one just in that answer, but I'd love it if you could share maybe another success story that helps illustrate the great work you do.
Yeah, sure. There was a chemical company. So this is moving away from professional services. But one of the things that they were struggling with was just establishing their brand and syncing up the perception of the company, whether it be on LinkedIn, their website, and then giving the sales leader some tools so that they can better engage the community. And so that was a really fun opportunity because we didn't really dig into the pipeline. This guy's super seasoned and had a pretty strong pipeline process that he was already using, but there were things along the lines of community engagement, of business development, of brand strategy that they really wanted to get some structure around. And so we came up with a plan and a process, something that was executable for these 50-something, 40-something-year-old executives that said, hey, they'll commit to this level of engagement and they're all going to do these different things that help as a whole improve the brand awareness of this organization. And man, it was really fun. Like to be in some cases a couple decades younger than some of these guys and to help them and give them tools and watch the kind of the light come on and them to see, okay, this is going to be beneficial. There's value to this. It was so unique and such a fun process. Both that and the nonprofit were short-term engagements that have the potential to lead to longer-term engagements, which is really why I structured the business with two kind of distinct offerings. One is the retainer model where maybe it's a lower ticket price per month, but you have me in your corner for an extended period of time, whether it be 6 months or a year.
Right.
The other is that 90-day sprint. I do want to tease one thing, though, because very shortly, hopefully by mid to late April, I will be announcing a service offering that is specific for larger companies. So where I'm going to try to tap into how we can improve the corporate culture of not just small to medium businesses, my clients will benefit, but also the enterprise level companies on a global scale. And I'm really excited about rolling this out. It's all about assessing and diagnosing the culture, being able to prescribe a fix for it, and then transform an organization. And I'm pumped about that.
Awesome. Adam Bieber, folks, with Logic Speak, and also Adam is the founder and CEO of the Synergetic Culture Company. Wow, Adam, what a great conversation. It's just such a pleasure to be with you and to shine a light on the work you're doing and for you to share what you're up to and share your insights. Let's get to the most important question, though.
Sure.
Which is how folks can find you.
Yeah. Adam Bieber on LinkedIn is one of the fastest ways to get to me. You can email me, adam@synergeticculture.com. You can go to synergeticculture.com. Those are the fastest ways to get to me. And if you're interested in the podcast, YouTube, Synergetic Culture, Spotify, and Apple. Would love to encourage you wherever you find yourself on your journey. And if I could, John, just one shout out to my wife, Katie. I would not be able to do this without her support and encouragement. And then my rock star son, Benjamin, who's 6 years old and in the first grade. I love them both very much and just appreciate them for always supporting me.
Oh, that's fabulous. And Benjamin,
yes, sir.
Need to, I'm talking to Benjamin. I'm not talking to you.
Okay, go ahead.
But Benjamin, you need to know that your dad sent some show notes here, and he said he had the most brilliant 6-year-old.
Yeah.
So you need to know that. That's what your dad thinks about you.
Oh, man.
So,
thank you.
Yeah,
thanks for doing that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Adam, thanks again. Keep up the great work.
Appreciate you, sir. We'll
Appreciate
do it again
you.
soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, folks, just a couple of quick things before we let you go for today. I've got a book out, in case you didn't know that. Adam was nice enough to shout that out. It's called The Generosity Mindset, A Journey to Business Success by Raising Your Confidence, Value, and Prices. It's not just about podcasting. It's about really understanding the client perceived value of the expertise service that you provide and the mindset changes that you need to get into the heads of your clients and understand where they see that value and price to that value. And if those are issues that you have concerns about or you've had trouble with in the past, this book is written expressly for you. Go to the Generosity Mindset to learn more and learn where to buy the book. Also, I just want to thank you. If you're listening to this show, by default, I want to thank you because you're supporting the show, and you have supported us over the years in so many different ways. We're coming up on our 9th anniversary of North Fulton Business Radio, and this is show number, I think, 854 or something like that. We've only gotten this far because of you, because you continue to support us in so many different ways, and I just am floored about where we have come with this show. And again, it's only because of your support. So thank you for what you do to help us live into our mission to be the voice of business in the North Fulton region and beyond. So for my guest, Adam Bieber, I'm John Ray. Join us next time here on North Fulton Business Radio.